I'm Nichole Byers. Today we're going to be painting a 24 by 24 inch canvas. It's a Blick Premier stretch canvas, which is a heavy duty canvas cloth, and it also has a 1.5 inch frame. So it's a wide frame, not the widest, but it's the middle one if you go to the Blick website. I'm going to unwrap this, and then we're going to put on a base coat of house paint in a beige color. And then I think the colors I'm going to do are going to be primarily yellow and magenta, maybe with a hint of blue. We'll see what happens. You never really know. So let's get this unwrapped and we can get going. Okay. One thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of paper towels down here, just because I like to do a little spraying with a spray bottle. So if I put paper towels down on the bottom of or on the edge of the easel, I find that it doesn't get water dripping all down on the floor. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And I'll show you real quick. I have this little cart here from IKEA. That's what I use for my water, and I hold paint and some other supplies underneath there. And then off to this side is my table where I'm gonna have the paints, and I'll get those poured out right now. On the left there, you can see that I've got a canvas pinned up to the wall. So that's going to be, haven't decided what to do there yet, but it's going to be a series of 3 smaller paintings. So I just haven't gotten there yet, and yeah, that'll be interesting to do. We'll do a video for that one. That'll be fun. Okay, let's pour some paint. Alrighty, so today what I'm going to use is some of the quinacridone magenta, and this one's by Golden. I use Golden. I used to use it a lot more. Right now I'm just using the liquid acrylics. I used to use the heavy bodies, but the heavy body acrylics I found that the liquid ones just were better flowing and just more, I just enjoy using them a lot better than the heavy body ones. So quinacridone magenta is going to be the one, pink. We're going to use yellow ochre, and that's from Nova Color, and I'm really fond of these paints. I have a whole shelf of them. I'll have to show you sometime. And then also by Nova, it's the Indent Throne blue. So let's get those on the plate. And yeah, I use a paper plate, so I like having the rim. I do have some palette paper, but I don't tend to use that as often. It's expensive, and I don't know, I just find it easier to use the paper plate, and I can cover it up with another paper plate if I don't want the paint to dry, if I have to come back to a project. So there we go with the yellow. Again, it was yellow ochre. That's such a pretty deep color. That's going to make a pretty orange too, because I'm sure we'll be blending some of the magenta and the yellow. I'm going to let that one dry a little bit. Okay. That one's stuck. Okay, and the Indent Throne blue. Got too much of that, but that's okay. And then we're going to use a lot of white, which I'll be dipping into a lot, and then some black too, because I think every painting looks a little bit sharper with a little bit of black in it. I don't know why. That was something that I heard at a house show from a decorator, that there has to be a bit of black in every single room she does, even if it's just like something in a painting. So this black that oh, nope, that was a Prussian blue. That's not what I meant to get. Oop. Sorry, wasted that. Okay, well, maybe we'll use that too with the other. Okay, this is the carbon black right here, and I'm probably gonna get them mixed up now that we did that. I'm gonna get more because I use the black more frequently than the other colors. The blue I really intended just to use a little bit. Then we got some white also. That's also from Nova Color, and that's titanium white. The black I used was Carbon Black by Golden. And this white, I'm just going to keep this open because I know we're going to be going back to it. Yes, I do. All right, here we go. I'm sorry about that interruption. Let's see. So right now I'm going to do the base coat, which is house paint I mentioned earlier. I was at a class in October, and we used house paint, and I never thought of that. And she assured us it was archival. This is a brand called PPG. The color is Milestone, but when I went to Home Depot to ask for that color, they had no idea what it was, so I just had to match the best match that I could get. This was actually given to me by another artist in the class. Her name was Heidi. So thank you, Heidi. We did a little swap for supplies. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to spray down the canvas, and I'm going to apply this paint just to get an uneven layer of the color. And then we'll see how it looks, and we can finish doing our mark making, and then eventually we'll get to adding color. That's the fun part, but I like the mark making too. Okay, and like I was saying, my name is Nichole Byers. I live in Central Illinois. My husband and I have 2 adult children. Got 2 dogs and a cat. And I don't know, that's all there is about that right now. I'm sure I'll say more later on, but this coat is I'm not trying intentionally doing an even coat. I'm just trying to do a messy little background. Some of it'll show through, some of it might not show through. I might cover it and obscure it completely. So, okay, back to what I was saying. I'm sorry about that. I'm really bad at making YouTube videos, so please forgive me. I hope to get better as we go. So, hope you stick around and tolerate my YouTube incompetence. So anyway, I work full-time as a litigation paralegal for a law firm, and I'm not a full-time artist, obviously, because I'm a full-time paralegal. So I enjoy my career a lot. We do trucking litigation, so truck accidents are a lot of what I'm dealing with. But I'll tell you, as far as the art goes, that's the important part, isn't it? The art, I've always been, just like everybody, here, I've always been an artist since I was a child. I've always been creative. Sorry, I've got some lumps in that paint, I think. I've always been creative. I've always had a sketchbook, and, I used to get Ranger Rick magazines. I don't know if you're Gen X, you might know what Ranger Rick magazines are. They were like a nature magazine, and they had a lot of animals and national park information, that kind of thing. And so I used to draw animals from that magazine a lot. But yeah, so I used to draw. I love drawing horses and animals and tigers and hawks and You know, I have no idea if, I don't think we even have any of my old sketches, but I thought they were pretty good for my age. And, you know, throughout junior high, art wasn't a big deal to me too much because we had art class, but that was about it. But, sorry. I got to high school and I took art classes, and right now I'm just letting the paint drip a little bit. And as that's drying, maybe I'll talk a little bit more. But, so in high school, I was very creative and took a lot of art classes. My teacher, Mrs. Lemaire, was a very, very, very good teacher, very kind and very encouraging. And yeah, so I was, for our senior superlatives, I was voted the most creative in our class. But having ADHD, I forgot to make it to the photo shoot on time, so I didn't make it into the yearbook, and the photographer would not let me come in late because she had a specific order, I think. So I also think the other person that was the most creative was her ex-boyfriend, so she didn't want to give either of us any breaks there. But that was funny. That's what I thought at the time anyway. I'm sure older and wiser, it was probably something different, but maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, so I you know, let's dry this a little bit, and then I'll finish my story on the other side of the pause, okay? Okay, so I decided to use my little, I don't know what this tool is called. It's like a bowl scraper, I think is what it is, for kitchens. And I noticed that after I sprayed it, there were some big droplets that just weren't going to, droplets of paint that weren't going to keep running. So they kind of were going to dry as hard little spots. And I didn't want that, that bumpiness there. So that's why I use this to kind of get rid of some of those streaks and, not the streaks necessarily, but the bumps. So here we go again. Okay, so let me show you this up close. Okay, so as you can see, it's a thin layer of paint. It's not very thick. There are drip marks, you know, scrape marks. You can see some of the marks from the bowl shaper. So that's just the background. I don't think very much of that is going to show through the painting, but you know, I like to get rid of the stark whiteness of the canvas. And it just kind of helps give me a direction to go. I'm going to do a little bit more mark making right now, and that's going to be, probably with some black crayon or black paint marker. We'll see what I grab, maybe a pencil or two. So let me get you back to where to go, or where the tripod goes, and we'll get back to that. So as I was saying, so we got into high school, I graduated, yay. I went to college for 2 years. I didn't know what I wanted to major in. It should have been art. My high school art teacher told me I should go to art school, and I didn't listen to her. So that's, I mean, it's been a regret, but I don't feel bad because I've got a, I met my husband after I dropped out of school, and got a good life with our kids, and basically, I missed my calling as far as art goes. So, oh, I'm just finding that I can't really talk and do this at the same time. I'm just using a black ebony pencil, Prismacolor ebony pencil. Just making some black marks. And then I've got a thicker marker paint, solid marker that I'm going to use too. So anyway, so college, I did take a couple of art classes in college, and didn't really do anything with it. I ended up dropping out of school after 2 years, because in addition to ADHD that was undiagnosed, I also had undiagnosed depression. So the school wasn't a good environment for me at the time, but I wish I would have done more with that. But anyway, it is what it is, and I'm doing it now, and that's all that matters, right? Still, I think that's probably way too much. A couple of chunks there. Okay. That's going to get covered up, by the way, too. So we'll have maybe a little bit of the black showing through. Let's make it down there. There we go. Okay. So anyway, as far as art goes, I never really pursued it seriously. You get married, you have babies, and life get jobs, and I never thought that I'd be able to make a career at art. Let's see which brush do I want to use? Let's use the big Egbert. Okay. So this brush that I have, it's an Egbert. It's kind of like a filbert, but it's a lot longer. And mine's curvy from using, but it looks more like that out of the store, but mine just got a little twisted. And I'm going to use the black right now. So anyway, yeah, so I, raised my family, went to work. I was a work-at-home mom, or stay-at-home mom first, and then I went to work when the kids were older, to bring some more money into the house. And, my creative pursuits at the time were primarily just crafts. So, that the whole thing about, the whole funny thing about, you never have enough craft supplies was so true. And, I think part of it's because I didn't know what I really wanted to do, and it was just kind of a way to, I'm being messy. Love it. So the crafts that I did were like rubber stamping. What else did I do? I did scrapbooking with photos, and I'll tell you, I'm a very bad photo album person. I don't take a lot of pictures. I used to, and then I just don't anymore. So you don't have a lot of pictures of my kids as teenagers, and I feel really bad for that. But anyway, so I did scrapbooking. I did cross stitch, sewing, quilting, crochet. I wish I had learned how to knit, but I could never master that because I already knew how to crochet, and it's just a whole different muscle memory. But okay, I think that's good for now. Good for now. Make a couple of more little drippy drips. So basically, the creativity that I was doing, it was based on other people's patterns and designs, and it wasn't anything original for me. I wasn't doing drawing really so much. I wasn't painting. I like that. Ooh, I like that a lot. Okay. I think I do want a couple more drips though, just for fun. So anyway, I just didn't really start doing art until probably, how old was my child? It was probably she was a toddler. And I went to work, I think I told this in a different video, but there. Oh, I like that. Look at all those drips. And I've got some splatters here too, so some black will show up. To protect my wall, you may see this shininess. I've got some plastic sheeting up on the wall. So that's just to protect it from the drips and splashes and paint. So you can get that at Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever your hardware store is of choice. It's just a big roll of plastic sheeting. Anyway, ADHD, sorry. So anyway, yeah, so when my daughter was a toddler, she's my youngest, I worked at part-time at a rubber stamp store, and I sold rubber stamps and papers and supplies. And sorry, I just need to wait for this to dry because I can't do anything without smearing black, and I don't like smearing black. But so the store owner, I think her name was Jackie, if I remember right, that was a long time ago. She decided she also, the beads were becoming a big thing at the time. I didn't know it yet, but she was starting to sell beads in a different part of her store that she had leased out. And these are lampwork beads, you know, Thai silver beads, Bali beads, seed beads, a lot. And I'm like, why on earth would anybody want to sell beads? What are you going to do with beads? Rubber stamping's the thing. So anyway, I when she had the beads section open, I went to look at her beads, and I saw that she had a glass cabinet where she had artists who had made lampwork beads by hand. I mean, who would think that you could make glass beads by hand, right? So I'm looking at these beads. They're marked like $10 each, and rubber stamps were more than that, but not much. And I'm like, I'm working here 10, 15 hours a week, maybe making $10 an hour. I don't think I was making that. I think it was probably more like $8 an hour at the time, because this was 20-ish years ago. And I'm like, I could make beads and sell them somehow. And, you know, the internet was kind of not brand new, but it was new to us. And so I got online and figured out where people were selling beads. And I started making lampwork glass beads in our basement with a torch. And so that's an interesting process. You can Google or look for videos of lampwork glass beads. So I don't have my things set up to do that. Otherwise, I probably would. But anyway, so that, you know, I did that for probably about 10 years and was very creative and very successful. Sold my beads. I didn't go to shows or anything like that, and I only taught a little bit. Actually, I taught jewelry making. I didn't teach the lampwork part. But that was fulfilling at the time. But I've always wanted to paint, and that's what I'm doing now. So, yay. So I'm going to put you on pause real quick, or fast forward a little bit while I blow dry the rest of this black, because I really want it to dry so we can finish. Okay, let me show you real quick what we've got close up. Alrighty, so get really close. You can see the splatters and from the sprayer. You know, I love the drippiness of the black. I think it just looks like ink. And I kind of, you know, if I were more of a daring person, I'd say let's just stop and leave it here and call it done. But you know, I think that's what I'm using as the base for this painting. So we're going to color it with color. We're going to color it with white and cream, and maybe I have no idea. We'll see where we're going to go with this. But I just wanted to show you a little bit close up what we're doing here. Okay. So anyway, I talked about college. Talked about beads. What else? Where did I leave off here? Yeah, so painting, I really haven't done a lot of painting. I did a little bit of crafty painting as an adult and as a mother when my kids were home, but, you know, nothing I could get really too serious about. I think I'm going to get a flat brush here. And I actually took my first art painting class last October of 2025. I found a artist that I liked and the style that I liked. And let's go with the pink first. Oh, let's do the blue first. I think we wanted to do the blue first, actually. So I found an artist who I liked the style of her art, and saw that she was teaching in New Orleans. So I went to New Orleans and took a class with her, and it was really, I do want to use the Prussian blue. The Prussian blue is the second color, the second blue that I accidentally poured, and that's my favorite, so that's what I'm going to use here, just to get underneath. It's kind of a warmer blue, like a greenish blue. So just kind of getting a little bit of water or white. Prussian blue is, I think, is a transparent color, so if you use a little bit of white, it makes it a little bit more solid. So what I'm going to do is going to try to just get a few lines in here. I'm not going to do anything big with it. Just get a couple of lines going. Get some more dark blue. So anyway, last October I took my class in New Orleans, and I was just hooked. I was so uncomfortable because the other women in the class had clearly been painting for a while or doing other creative pursuits that, you know, they were already established artists and they're selling in galleries and whatnot. And I just really felt out of my element, but you know, they made me feel really welcome. And my first painting was a disaster. I got a little carried away with the spray bottle, but my second the rest of my paintings I think were pretty good. So I just really fell in love with the style of painting. You know, you're trying not to copy people, but you tend to be influenced by people. And some of the artists that I really enjoy looking at their art, one of them is Joan Mitchell, and she's a abstract expressionist, and I just love her style. Helen Frankenthaler, Willem de Kooning. I can't think of others. I can think of them. They're just at the top of my tongue, but I can't think of the names right now. But anyway, so that's that style of art that I like, the modern expressionism. There was a studio in New York, and they were all mind hiving there, and you know, creating their works and having shows, and back in the day. So I'm going to dry the blue because I don't want the blue to be mixing with the yellow and pink. Yellow and pink I want to mix, and the white and whatever, but I don't want to really do a lot with the blue here, other than just have it in the background. So I'm going to pause my story right now, and actually my story's almost done. I'm going to pause that right now, and I'm going to dry the blue, and then we'll get on to the other colors. Okay, I don't think that's 100% dry, but that's okay. So we're gonna just get going with the pink. I think if there's a little bit of smearing, that's okay. But and you might have noticed I'm kind of working from the dark colors to lighter colors, just because, you know, I like the depth of that. I like the black and then the blue layer on top of that. It's, you know, clearly it's layers, and I think the dark on the inside as you go out just helps it have more depth, and I think it just looks really pretty, especially when you get done, so when you're finished. Okay, so I've got the pink loaded up on the brush. It's a flat brush. I put some white on it too, and we'll see what goes. I'm not sure what to do here, but let's give it a shot. try to get some of those darker colors there. Anyway, so I think my story was almost done. I took an art class in New Orleans last year. I did sign up for another art class in the spring, so I'll be excited to see what I learn there. And yeah, so that's my story about why I'm painting now. I'm 55 years old, so it's always been kind of a lost dream that, I never arted like I should have. I feel like I could have been doing this all my life, but I didn't. And, that's just the way life turns out. It's nothing to regret. There's nobody to blame except myself for not taking the chances that I had. So I'm not upset with anybody. I'm not upset with myself even, because, we built a life together, and my husband and I, and had kids, and sometimes your focus changes, and that's okay. But right now, the kids are out of the house, they're adults, and my focus is on, of course, my marriage, but also on myself and doing what I want to do. And, I hope I don't ever want to get to be the age of 80 and say I wish I had and I never did, and that would just be tragic, wouldn't it? That's kind of cool. Let's get some more white in there just for kicks. And my water is black already. Okay, so the white's turning into pink, which is fine. I'm okay with that. Spread some of that love all over. One thing to know about me is I am very much an introvert. It's very, I don't tend to meet a lot of people, and I guess I tend to be a little guarded. I don't know why. I've got no reason to be, but, oh, let's spray. Let's do a little spraying too, just for kicks. But, so doing this video thing, it's awkward for me, especially because this is like my first one where I'm really talking off script, and it's awkward, and it's really outside of my comfort zone. So please be kind. But anyway, so I don't tend to, the people that I hang out with are kind of, I suppose they're ride or dies, which is the phrase I've been hearing a lot. They're just people that, I trust implicitly. They're people that if I hurt them or if they hurt me, I would trust that we'd have a good conversation and resolve things. But yeah, I'm an introvert. This is not a great bottle. Just switch to this one. There, that one's got some oomph. Okay, you can see that. Oh, that pink trailing down. Still have a little bit of the black showing through. There's some white. Okay. This is just a industrial kind of bottle from Home Depot, I think, or Lowe's. Probably should put it there. Okay, we're gonna let that dry. I'm gonna turn the camera off and charge it for a little bit. But yeah, we'll let that dry, and then I'll come back in a little bit and we can add the yellow. Okay, I don't think this is dry all the way, but that's okay, because I think I'm okay with some blending here. Get a couple of little bumpies off. There, it's definitely not dry all the way. So some people, I like to blow dry a lot, use my blow dryer to dry things. Some people just don't do that. I'm impatient, and I work full time, so I don't have time to sit around and watch the paint dry. So I tend to speed it up myself, but I can see that there are a few other spaces that are not quite dry, but that's okay because we can mix the yellow up with that. So let's get the brush going and see what we can do here with that. I'm going to get a little bit more paint of the magenta on my plate. Maybe a little more white as well. Totally use a lot of that. Okay. Yellow, yellow, yellow. Yellow ochre. That's what we've got. Okay, so we used the big filled Egbert brush, and we used the flat brush. I want to use a smaller. I want to use the bigger Egbert brush actually. So we'll do that. So I've got my Egbert brush loaded up with the yellow ochre, a little bit of white, so it's I don't know that ochre is necessarily a transparent color. It may be translucent, I'm not sure, but I don't know. We'll see what we do, see what we get. I still have water on my brush, so it's dripping. Actually, I don't even have to spray it, it's dripping by itself. So here we got a little bit of orange blending here with the, that's okay. Just make a happy orange spot. A little happy pine trees, right? Like Bob Ross. Okay, I want the pink to be a little bit more dry. Some of the blue is still wet. Some blue on that one. Okay, I'm gonna take a minute to dry this completely because I don't like some of the blending that's going on. I wanted more of the yellow ochre and that, and maybe some orange a little bit, but just want to get more yellow on, just straight up yellow, and then we'll try it again. So I'm gonna speed it up a little bit and blow dry the painting just to get it done faster. to change out the paint because my palette had just gotten a little bit too messy. I had that extra blue that I didn't use and black, and when I was getting some of the yellow on, I was picking up some of the blue. So I just wanted to get a cleaner palette with just the white, yellow, and the magenta. So that's, and we don't have to stop as much anymore. So I'm just gonna put that there. We're going to try again with the yellow ochre. See what we can do. Okay. And you notice I did, well, during that pause, I did add a little bit more black just because I like black in there. So I wanted to see more of it. I felt I had covered a little bit too much up. But you know, every layer we add adds a little bit of depth. So, so it's just what I wanted to do. And my painting, I really don't have a plan. I mean, I think you can kind of tell I don't have a plan. I'm just kind of winging it a little bit here, but it's just really emotive and expressionism, abstract expressionism. It's based more on your feelings than anything that you're looking at as a representational piece. Obviously, would be, but you know, I've never been great at the realism except when I was a kid drawing those Ranger Rick magazines. But, you know, I have a lot of feelings and expressions, so I don't necessarily express things out loud, but I love that I'm able to do it here. That yellow's a little too solid, so I'm going to spray that a little bit here. Okay, so you can see that when I've sprayed, it kind of removed some of the paint there and there, in addition to making some drips. I'm trying not to get too carried away with the drips. I do like them a lot, but I did learn in my class that too much of a good thing is not necessarily good. So we're just going to keep going with the color addition, getting into some of that black just to get the layer. I like that pink up there, that's really pretty. Solid that up a little bit because it mixed in with the pink a little too much and gives some a little bit more dark there. Just kind of mumbling to myself, sorry about that. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can get a little bit of pink here, see if we can get a little bit of a orange. Looks more like it's kind of a peach color, so maybe I need a little bit more yellow. Maybe I need a different shade of yellow because this is just kind of looking more peach. A little fiery. Soft fire. I don't know what to think. Sure, I'll get some kind person on here telling me what trash this is, but that's okay. This isn't finished, and in the end, it's what I want, not what anybody else wants. So, and that's what it's about. Art's an expression of me, not you. And the hope is that you will have somebody that sees something that speaks to them in it. I'm not going to necessarily interpret it for somebody else, but they can interpret it for themselves and decide what it means to them, if it's something that if they're drawn to it. Okay, I think I need to relax it a little bit with some white. So it's time to let it dry for just a little bit, I think. Get some white in there. I'm just really loose with my brush strokes. I'm trying not to control it too much, letting the brush kind of control how it's being laid down, how the paint's being laid down. You can kind of lose a little control by holding it up at the end like that. That glob that just went there. I think that's actually helping a lot. Covering some of that color so it's not so garish. Speaking of garish, I have to put my Christmas tree away. I think my husband thinks that my Christmas tree is a little garish, or at least gauche, or too much. I've got it loaded up with some fancy European glass ornaments like Santas and snowmen, and they're pretty big ornaments too. So some of them are like 8 or 9 inches long. So I think my husband thinks that our tree is a little garish. Maybe it is, but I like it. I like it with all the white in there. Okay, and some places that you can see that, you know, when you use a thinner layer of paint, you can see. So this yellow didn't completely obscure the blue here, but it's kind of veiling it a little bit. It's covering up, but you can still see through it. I have bits of the blue that are peeking out there and there, and a little bit here, not so much, but I still have the black peeking out. I still have some of the old pencil marks from the first layer. Some of the crayon marks you can see through the magenta, because magenta is a transparent color, remember. The white is not transparent, so when you add the white, it makes the pink opaque. But here through the magenta, you can still see some of the crayon marks and pencil marks. A little bit down here. But yeah, it's just, I just love all the layers. I love just stand back a little bit. And I know you've got a little bit of a glare there from my light source, so maybe I'll move the camera for you a little bit. Let me get this up here. And you know, it always helps to stand back and look at things, maybe take a little bit of time. Kind of looks like a garden. It kind of looks like a garden. I don't know what kind of garden, but yeah, no, I'm digging the colors a lot. I love it. I might add some more bigger blocks of white and maybe some shapes, just to get a little bit of order in all that chaos. I can see it's chaotic. And I know that's not everybody's taste. I happen to like it. Well, it's drying a little bit. I'll just show you off to my left a little bit. I've got a couple of paintings on my wall. You'll see the light though too, but down here is one that I just finished, last week. Don't have a name for it yet. I still just need to finish up the black edging. And then on the wall, that one's about, I don't know if it's 5 feet. I think it's 6 feet by 6 feet. What's that, 60 inches? I think it's just about 6 feet by 6 feet. Let me see if I can back it up a little bit for you. But that one I'm painting on my wall. It's just a piece of canvas that's tacked up to the wall, and I'm painting directly on the wall because I don't have a easel big enough, and I didn't buy a canvas that big, so I just bought a roll of canvas and cut it up. So sorry about the light source there. And there's a little one that I started for a video last night, and maybe I'll finish it today. We'll see. Back to this one. Just gonna let that dry for a little bit more. I like that ochre. I think it's kind of looks like fall leaves a little bit when I'm looking through the window here, or the viewer. Back. Sorry for all the fiddling I'm doing with that. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I think it looks a little flowery. I didn't mean for it to, but I guess that's what happens when you use pink and yellow. And I think the yellow the darker yellow, especially the parts where it goes over the black, kind of looks a little bit of greenish. It's not really, obviously, but yeah, I think it kind of looks like autumn leaves a little bit. So I'm gonna put it on pause real quick and then let this dry a little bit longer, and then we'll think about, I'm gonna just sit back and look at it for a few minutes, see what I like and what I don't like about it, and figure out what I need to do next. So I'll put you on hold. Thanks. Come back, see you on the other side. Okay, so we're getting pretty close to the end here. While I had the camera on pause, I did a little bit of touching up on the edges. Because this is a wide canvas, rather than painting the edges, I'll show you the difference, but rather than painting the edges white or black, I like to paint them to match the painting on the other side. So I just added some paint to kind of carry over what was going on in the front onto the side. That way, if somebody decides they don't want to frame it, it'll still look nice on the wall. What I sometimes do is with this painting here, I paint the edges black. And that one, I messed that up a little bit doing that. I got a little bit of black on the front that I need to correct, but it's difficult to get the edges black because to get a crisp line, I mean, it's kind of a little bit of a rounded edge. It's not a crisp edge, so I have a little hard time with that. So I just need to fix this one a little bit better. But this one I decided to go with the matching edge, so it matches the front of the painting. And I did the top too. I didn't do the bottom yet. I'll do that later on when we're done with the painting. So let's get this in position, and then we can see if we can get back on track here with wrapping this up. Sounds on. Okay, so I think what I want to do, we need a little resting place for the eyes. So I think what I want to do is add white up here, maybe a little bit here. We'll see where we go with that, but I'm definitely going to put some white up here. I've got these bare spots, and they're not really bare because remember we painted the house paint layer, so it's not like you're seeing the clear canvas through here, even though you can see the pencil marks. It's that house paint base that we put on first, so that's not canvas. It looks like it's bare, but it's not. So, okay, I'm gonna close the door here because I've got some animals that are probably gonna be barking soon, and get that closed. Get a flat brush, I think, a big flat brush. That's what I think I'm gonna do. Let's do this one. Okay. Got a bunch of white on the palette already, so I'm just going to use that. I kind of don't like using straight white usually. I like to, maybe I could use the base color. try that first. We're gonna try the beige. It's called Milestone. See how I like that first, and maybe put some white on top of that. And it's kind of a dry brush, so you can see it's kind of see-through. It's kind of a transparent cover because I'm not using a lot, and I don't know, we'll see. I don't think I need to make a hole. Maybe I just need a veil of color of the base rather than making it opaque. That's an idea. So you can still see I like that. Okay. Yeah, let's just keep doing that. Not the whole thing. I'm not going to cover the whole thing because obviously the point is to have color in a painting. So I'm just going to do, maybe a couple of blocks of this and see if I want to add white on top of it as well. So let's get just at the bare minimum of paint on my brush. I can just do the little dry brushing. Curve it up that way. I think that would be a good idea. Kind of muting it. And you know what? If I were smart, I'd have some, I've got the blue and yellow, I can make green. If I were smart, I would make a neutral using one of the colors in the painting. So I could use the pink, the magenta, and green and mix that and shade it with some white or black depending on, and that would make a beautiful gray that would really harmonize with this. So maybe let's try that too. Get a little bit of gray, and what the gray will do is basically just gray it down. It'll create more of a neutral place for your eye to rest. Yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna get a little bit of paint going here. Let's see. Get the water. I'm gonna let you watch me mix paint here too. So let me put that down. Okay. So this is the palette I'm using. This is the palette that we used. That's the blue that we didn't use. That's the blue that we did, but it's a little dried up, so I'm just not gonna use that one. I'm going to get some of the Prussian blue hue onto here, make a little bit of green. That one's almost empty. That one is empty. Okay, that's enough. We don't need that much more. My yellow ochre is almost empty too, but I think I've got a bigger bottle. Okay, and then I added white while we were gone, so I don't need any more of that right now. And I'm sorry, I'm just mumbling as we go here, and you'll have to forgive me for that. That's just kind of what I do. I am trying to minimize it though, just so you know. Okay, so I'm gonna get my smaller, let's use this flat brush, make sure there's no pink on it. Okay, that's clean. So when I'm mixing paint, I start with the lighter color, and what I'm mixing is a green, because green is a complementary color to the magenta. I'm just going to take a little dab of the blue because it's so dark, and then mix it in. A little bit more. Okay, so now we've got this green matches the yellow because it's made with the yellow, and it's made with the blue, so it matches that as well. I'm gonna get a little bit of white in there to, oh, that picked up some pink. That's okay, because pink is a complementary color. So it's kind of making almost the same color that we had before, the beige, isn't it? Get a little bit more blue in there, maybe. Okay, it's kind of a greenish gray. Let's see what that does on the canvas. And I might not like it, so I might have to cover it up, but we'll see what happens here. Oh, actually, that's not so bad. I'm gonna step back and look. Huh. I don't dislike that at all. I wish it were lighter though, so I'm gonna add a little white. Put a lot of that in there, just a couple of pops, I think. Then we'll probably cover it up with some more white. We'll see. And I think I'm also going to strategically put it closer to the pink because that's what matches it. Or it doesn't match, it's a complement. I'm going to put a little bit right here by this pink. Over the edge here because remember I painted the edges. Okay. Well, that's interesting. And you know, I'm not really sure right now if I'll like it. We'll see tomorrow, I guess. But I'll have to look at it again to make sure that I like it. Is basically what I'm saying. Okay, so see that way, you know, I added some softness. It's not a straight white. I kind of like to add a little bit more, maybe a little bit more here, maybe down here a little bit near the pink. So I need to mix a little bit more. That's what that means. So I'll just do that right here on the palette. That's a little bit darker, so look at some of the white. That's not going to match perfectly, that's okay. Don't have to match perfectly, it's art. The colors go, they don't have to match. So what did I say? I said a little bit down here, I think. Okay, this is a thicker application, I don't like that. Just scrape some of that off. That worked. This is a silicone scraper by Catalyst. The number is W06, if you're interested in that. But so it lets you pick up paint and then you can add it somewhere else if you feel like it. But it's a good scraper, but that one I just used to make that layer a little bit more transparent because I had my brush too loaded. too much like a V. Sorry, I don't mean to keep adjusting my bra strap, but it just keeps slipping. Sorry about that. That's so rude. But it looks too much like a V, and I don't really like that so much. So I think I'm gonna just put a little bit more over here. Kind of bring it down that way. Because we had the black kind of in an L shape, so that black kind of made the motion go that way, except for we've covered most of the black. So let's see if we can still get a little bit more motion down this way. Well, I think the white does help with it not looking so garish. Maybe you think it looks more garish, I don't know. But like I said, I'll probably take it over, think it overnight, see how I like it. Maybe I won't by tomorrow, I don't know. But I'm gonna step back and just look again. And let's get a little bit more white in there just for kicks. And then where's that little flat brush I was going to use? There it is. And got it. Must be. Okay. So my brushes, I do have some nicer brushes. I've learned that you don't really need to use nice brushes for acrylic because acrylic is going to wreck them anyway. I think my favorite ones are these Egbert ones that are kind of ratted up a little bit, but they still work wonderfully. I love them. But the rest of them are cheapos. Like this one I got for just a couple dollars with the silver handle. I got that at Michael's, I believe, or Michael's or Hobby Lobby. I think it was Michael's. The brand is Royal and Langnickel Zen. It's silver. So cheap ones work just fine for acrylic, and then you don't have to worry about messing up a $20 or $30 brush because you let the paint get too far into the ferrule or let the paint dry on it, which I just did last night. I ruined one of my brushes by letting it dry in black. So okay, let's get some white on there and see if we can add a little interest here. I started with some of these little rectangle stripey things with the green. See if I can fade them out a little bit. And then something else we can do for interest is adding more. Remember we went on here with the pencil and the solid paint marker. Sometimes I like to use crayons. I'm not sure if I'll do that here. I don't know that we'll need to because we've already got so much going on, but I'm just gonna try to get a little bit more white down and see if we can get a little bit more balance here, I think. I don't want it to be solid white. I'm trying to make it translucent. I just don't really care to have a solid white there because I like the color showing through, but I still want to have a little bit of respite for your eyes. I'm just kind of creeping up this way with the white spots. I don't know what you call them. The spots, or are they stripes? I don't know what you call them. Kind of invisible. They're kind of like little ghosts, paint ghosts. Okay, I just made it weird. Sorry. like that. I really do. I don't know why, I just do. And that's kind of the whole point of painting like this and this abstract expressionism. And you know, I don't like to put a label on it because there are so many abstract expressionists who are just wonderful painters. I would never classify myself as that, but it's just the style, and I like the style because I'm just painting what I feel like, and usually it turns out all right. Sometimes it doesn't, and you just start again and do some paint over it or whatever. I'm gonna get a little bit more green on that one. I don't like that one. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get a little bit more of those white spots down on that right green corner just to have it carry into it a little bit. Got that one. Those ones aren't quite as solid. They're a little bit more transparent than the other ones, aren't they? Let's see if we can fix that. Might need to blow dry it just to fix it a little bit. We'll see. That did it. I still don't know how I feel about that. So I think what's going to happen is I'm going to just call it, maybe. Look at it tomorrow and see what happens. I might decide to change things up a little bit. I'm not sure. I don't dislike it. I'm just not sure I like it. So that's one of the hard parts of being an artist, isn't it? You don't know when you're done, and then suddenly you go too far and it looks awful. So I don't want to get to that point yet. Maybe I have. I don't know. You be the judge of that. No, don't be the judge of that. I'll be the judge of that. So yeah, I think we're gonna just wrap it up for right now. I'm gonna pick it up tomorrow and see how it turns out. Ooh, that's a little bit more green. I like that one. Okay. Yeah, I think I might need a little bit more of the white. But like I said, I'll look it over. I'll let it sit tonight, see what it does, see how I think about it in the morning, and fix it if I need to, okay? Thank you for painting along with me. I think I spilled a little bit too much information, but I hope I didn't annoy you too much. But I'm Nichole Byers, and thank you for painting with me today.